Peace, family. It's your brother, Marc Lamont Hill. You're watching the Marc Lamont Hill official YouTube channel. Tonight, we're talking about President Joe Biden and a question that's been coming up a lot in Democratic political circles. And that question is, should Joe Biden be receiving unquestioned support from the Democratic Party base? I mean, it's a hell of a question. It's one that we're going to get at, and I'll tell you why. In the meantime, everybody, drop in your name, drop in your location, drop in your city, your state, your country. Let me know where you're writing in from, because I want to let people know how broad our community is, and I want to shout out the folk who help make this thing happen every single night, because we up every single night. My brother Corey's in the building. Shout out to him. Always love when he's in the building. Veronique Faison coming in from Arizona. Ibn Himyari writing in. I'm not sure from where, but shouts to you as well. Baps in Toronto here in the building. We got Ouroboros Garden from Halifax, etc., etc. So many other people here. Dallas Jazz. That Dallas thing still kills me, man. Bullet the Bunny, I see you. I love you. Appreciate you from Tennessee. And Michelle in Washington, Denver, as always. Let's talk a little bit. And shout out to you, Mariam Mangera from Johannesburg. Let's talk about Joe Biden. So the reason why this conversation about Joe Biden has come up recently, and this is a conversation that is always happening, but there's a particular reason why this conversation came up now about whether or not Joe Biden should be getting primary support from Democrats. I wish I could say it purely came because Democratic voters or voters in general were raising the right questions. Unfortunately, a lot of Democratic voters don't raise the right questions. They simply say, Joe Biden's our guy, we're going to rock with him. But we saw recently Rashida Tlaib be one of the people in Michigan, and I interviewed the mayor of Dearborn, Michigan. You can see on Al Jazeera last week, and he told me something very similar, and I'll be very specific about what that thing is. With the mayor, Mayor Hamoud told me in Dearborn, Michigan, was that there is a movement called the uncommitted movement, where people are choosing to not commit to Joe Biden in the primary. In Michigan, you have the option of checking a box that says uncommitted. That means you don't have to choose Biden. You don't have to choose someone else. You can just choose uncommitted. That's a hell of an option. Now you might say, what's the point of that, right? And we'll talk about that. But at the very least, there is an option. And again, for some people, that's a better option than voting for Dean Phillips, who has, as of now, 0 delegates. For some people, it's better than voting for Marianne Williamson, who has 0 delegates, and who a lot of people don't take seriously. I'm not saying she shouldn't be taken seriously. I'm just saying a lot of people don't even see her as an actual candidate. And so when you have the kind of Democratic primary landscape that you have, where Dean Phillips is running like he's an outside candidate, but when I heard Brianna Joy Gray interview him on Bad Faith podcast, he sounded like every other Zionist. I haven't heard him talk about reparations. I haven't heard him talk about indigenous rights. I haven't heard him offer anything that makes him feel like a real outside or far left candidate. So he don't seem like the person. Marianne Williamson she pops up a lot and offers an interesting alternative vision sometimes. But again, a lot of times she falls in line, not sure she's the person. And a lot of Democrats are saying, look, we don't not want Joe Biden, right? We don't want to not want him anyway, but he's just falling short on some issues. What do we do? And so in Michigan, the idea is to say non-committed or uncommitted. And again, Rashida Tlaib offers an important kind of instructive strategy on that. Again, the mayor of Dearborn doesn't endorse the uncommitted movement. He simply pointed out that there is an uncommitted movement around the state. But Rashida Tlaib came out and said, wait a minute, y'all. We need to take this seriously. I'm going to pull up her quote here. Y'all can see right here. She said, we need to take this seriously. I'm going to pull up her quote here. Y'all can see right here. She said, we need to take this seriously. I'm going to pull up her quote here. Y'all can see right here. She said, we need to take this seriously. I'm going to pull up her quote here. Y'all can see right here. If you want us to be louder, then come here and vote uncommitted, she said in a new video posted to social media on Saturday while standing outside an early voting location. As this NBC article says, she joined growing calls from progressive activists in Michigan to vote uncommitted in the state's primary on February 27th instead of voting for Biden. People, now you may say why. You may say why. In Michigan, in particular, this is important. Why? Michigan has the largest, maybe Arab population in the country. And Dearborn, Michigan, in particular, has like, I mean, it's like being, if you I don't know anybody who's spending time in Dearborn, Michigan, being in Dearborn, you might as well be in Syria or Iraq or Palestine or Jordan, or it's very much an Arab-centered place. And what they're saying is, and this post isn't just about Palestine or Arabs. I'm just using them as an example to speak to a bigger issue here. But they're saying, wait a minute, Joe Biden, don't come here on no campaign trail. Don't come here on no campaign junket, Joe Biden. Don't walk up in our state, and certainly not in our city of Dearborn, talking about you want our votes, or you want us to assume that you're just going to be the standard bearer for our party when you don't do the things we need or the things that we would expect from a president. Rashida Tlaib says it is also important to create a voting bloc, something that is a bullhorn to say enough is enough. We don't want a country that supports war and bombs and destruction. We want to support life. We want to support life. We want to stand up for every single life killed in Gaza. This is a way you can raise our voices. Don't make us even more invisible. Right now, we feel completely neglected and just unseen by our government. So Rashida Tlaib is saying, she's one of the people leading the movement, saying, look, we're not saying no to Joe Biden. And she's saying, we're not saying that we're not going to vote Democrat. She's saying, no, right now, we're not committed. Why are we not committed? Because Joe Biden's actions in the White House don't correspond to our interests as a voting bloc, as Arabs, as Muslims, as pro-Palestinian people. This is her argument. Now, Bullet the Bunny says any three-party vote works to break the two-party system. Potentially. But she's not even saying vote third party. She's saying don't commit yet. And I want to make a very important distinction here. This conversation tonight isn't about whether people should vote third party. Although I think, as Bullet points out, that is an important conversation to have. What I'm saying is not whether people should vote third party, but right now, should we be at least withholding the vote? Voting non-committed, or Joe Biden having very low turnout numbers. Say you're in a state where Joe Biden doesn't have, or the state doesn't have an uncommitted option or non-committed option, so you can't do that. But you could be in a state where you just have low turnout. Remember, he's running against nobody almost. Marianne Williamson doesn't have a single delegate. Dean Phillips doesn't have he doesn't have any delegates. So Joe Biden's going to be the nominee either way. But what if you withhold the votes enough that he starts to sweat? What if you withhold the votes enough where he says, you know what, if we don't start speaking to these issues, we're going to lose the general, because no black folks showed up in the primary. No Arabs were committed in the primary. No college students were committed in the primary. No elderly were committed in the primary. Whatever the block is, no Muslims were committed in the primary. Whatever the block is, at some point, you got to say, we can't just give our votes away. Now, again, this starts with Rashida Tlaib, but this is not a Rashida Tlaib conversation. It starts on the question of Palestine from Rashida Tlaib and the people in Michigan, but this isn't just about Palestine. Let me speak to my black folk. Joe Biden has made it very clear in every way possible to me. Joe Biden has made it very clear that he does not support reparations. Joe Biden has made it clear that he does not support reparations. So there are people like me who believe in reparations. We've been fighting for reparations. We've been advocating for reparations. And for me in particular, I believe that reparations should come for descendants of slavery, American descendants of slavery. So, as American descendants of slavery, as the children and the grandchildren and the great grandchildren of enslaved African people who built this American empire, we have a right. We have a right to a justice claim and to have our justice claim affirmed to repair the damage that was done. Joe Biden, at least unlike some of the members of Congress who lied on us and said, oh, I support it, and they just don't do anything, or they support a bill to have a study or a bill that approves the right to convene a study. They may even say we, in theory, support the idea of reparations. As a matter of practice, they haven't done it and they have no intention of doing it. Joe Biden said back in the 70s he didn't support reparations. He said, as a white man, I don't feel guilty about some stuff I ain't do. It's not an exact quote, but it ain't that far off. It's not an exact quote, but it ain't that far off. Now, Joe Biden has become more politically savvy and more politically palatable. So he knows how to spin it and hide his position, but um, he still doesn't support reparations. So as Black folk, that should have been a non-starter in the primary. You had Bernie Sanders, you had Elizabeth Warren, you had Joe Biden, you had Kamala Harris, you had Pete Buttigieg. I mean, I'm going down the list. There were so many Democrats to choose from. Y'all chose Joe. Y'all didn't choose Joe because y'all thought Joe was the best candidate. Y'all didn't choose Joe because you believed him. You chose Joe because you thought he was the best chance of beating Donald Trump. And I understand the urgency of beating Donald Trump. I was one of those people who said Donald Trump must be defeated. No, full stop. I get that. But you don't have to compromise everything all the time. Politics is about compromise. Yes. I didn't say you don't have to sacrifice or compromise. I said you don't have to compromise everything all the time. And as Black voters, we often do that. So when I see Rashida Tlaib and people in Michigan say, you know what? Bullet the Bunny says I voted for him to save lives from COVID. So did I. I get it. When people in Michigan, Arabs in Michigan, and Muslims in Michigan say, look, we understand what's at stake, but Joe Biden is literally writing a check to the country that's killing my people. You cannot expect me to vote for Joe Biden as he enables, underwrites, endorses, or at least excuses a full-fledged genocide in my homeland. That's what Palestinians are saying. And I can't look at a Palestinian and say, yeah, but you got to be practical. A war is being waged against your people. I could never ask you to do that. But similarly, as African people, we have to ask ourselves, what's at stake for us? What's at stake for us? What does it mean to have a reparations claim and get no support for it? What about an investment in our infrastructure? What does it mean to have criminal justice reform but still live in a world marked by police terrorism? What do we do? So there's that argument. And then there are people, then there are people, then there are people. I did too, Melly. I voted Joe Stein in 2016 myself. Then there are people who say, what about Trump? Trump will be worse. If we withhold our Biden votes, we don't vote the top of the ballot and Trump wins. Situation in Palestine gets worse. Healthcare gets worse. The economy gets worse. Jobs get worse. LGBTQ rights get worse. Supreme Court gets worse. Federal judicial system gets worse. Let's say for a moment that I concede that point without any pushback. Let's just say for a moment I do that. I think it's more complicated than that, but let's just say I did that for a moment. That's all the more reason, Democrats, and I'm not a Democrat, I'm a Green Party member. That's all the more reason, Democrats, that you have to have a tougher primary. The primary, even when you have an incumbent president, can never be a coronation because you're saying that, look, we're going to vote blue no matter who. That's what you're saying. You're saying no matter who's on the ballot, we're voting blue because it'll be better than voting for Donald Trump or voting for DeSantis or voting for Nikki Haley or voting for whoever's on the right side of the aisle. If that is your premise, then you have to put forward a Democrat who at least approximates your interests. Now, I know you're saying, well, if you drag them too far to the left, then the right wins anyway. Yeah, but Bernie would have beaten Donald Trump in 2020 as a Democrat. Elizabeth Warren would have beaten Donald Trump as a Democrat. You could have gotten better options. And I'm not saying those people aren't problematic. I'm just saying those are better options. So right now, as Joe Biden doesn't meet your needs, Black people, why not run a Democrat in the primary who actually supports reparations, who supports decarceration and excarceration, who supports abolition? Why not put forward a candidate in the Democratic primary who will be willing to call for a ceasefire, who will be willing to say, let's get out of Syria and Iraq, who will be willing to say, let's stop exploiting Africa, who will be willing to say, I'm unapologetically appointing left-wing voices onto the Supreme Court so that we will have a court that actually respects the Constitution and people. That's all I'm saying. So for me, the answer is yes. Democrats, you should absolutely hold back. If you're a Democrat out there, hold back and make Biden give you what you want. Again, we can talk third party another time. We can talk alternatives another time. But right now, I'm just saying, if you're going to be a Democrat, don't just give the vote away to Joe Biden. Make him work for it. Make him struggle for it. Make him earn it. This isn't political theater. This isn't political theater. In the same way that Arabs are legitimately saying, until we get a better answer in the Middle East, we can't in good conscience pull that lever for you, Joe. We're not saying no, we're saying not yet. It shouldn't just be a Michigan thing. It shouldn't just be an Arab thing. It shouldn't just be a Muslim thing. Everybody should get their needs met. That's all. That's all. So best of luck to you, Joe Biden. The last thing I want to see is Donald Trump in office. So I hope that you push for a ceasefire. I hope you make a step toward reparations. I hope you fight vociferously for radical change in policing and in mass incarceration in the system to dismantle it. I hope you push for all the agenda items because that's the only way you're going to get the support of a whole bunch of people who really care about a vision of America, an actual left-wing vision of America. All right, y'all. That's all I got to say about that. I want to thank y'all for watching. We're going to have another conversation about that third party thing later because we got to talk about, should you vote third party? What does it mean to vote third party? How invested are y'all in third party? And which third party candidates should you be thinking about? I want to talk about all of that. So don't worry. I ain't leaving that alone. But I want to shout y'all out. Hit the like button. Also hit the subscribe button if you want to be a member of the channel. We hit 100,000 this weekend. I'm so grateful to y'all for that. I'm so excited about hitting 100,000 subscribers. Next, let's go for 250. 250 is the next big number for me. Not even 2, but 250. Give me 250. Let's see if we can make that happen as soon as possible. So hit the subscribe button, share the love with your family. Also hit the join button. This channel grows and expands and gets more rich as soon as you join, because that allows us to have the financial support necessary. So please hit the join button and be a part of what we do here every single day. And if you want to bypass all the fancy corporations and all the stuff and you want to donate directly to the channel, go to Cash App right now and go to MLHTV, $MLHTV. When you do that, it goes straight to the channel. Nobody takes a cut out. Even if you only have $1 to give, $1. If everybody online right now gave $1, it would make a strong headway toward the next video that comes out, toward the next edit that comes out, toward the next producer we want to hire. It's absolutely a joy to work with y'all, to build with y'all, to share with y'all. I can't wait for the next thing to happen. Shout out to you, by the way, Sharia, for the $10 We appreciate you. We're so grateful. Oh my God, Lee Royster just gifted 20 Marc Lamont Hill channel memberships. You have no idea what that means, brother. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful. That's so generous. Hopefully y'all can take that, spread the love. Hopefully y'all can get them 20 memberships. I can't wait to see who gets them. That's so dope. And hopefully after y'all get that free month, y'all hang with us or whatever, man, because what we're doing here is I hope important. We're trying to create radical new voices. We're trying to create space for different kinds of conversation, critical conversation. We want to have political education. We just added the Mumia Abu Jamal podcast here about 6 weeks ago now. It's called The Classroom in the Cell. Me and political prisoner Mumia Abu Jamal talk every single week, several times a week, and we share the conversations with y'all. It's a blessing. And you know, the donations you give, the support you give as members help support that podcast and also help support Mumia Abu Jamal and his legal defense. So all of that matters, family. Anyway, we got so much to talk about. Let me know what y'all are thinking about. Let me know what topics y'all want to have. And we also got to do a members only conversation, a members only Q&A. We probably do that later tonight or tomorrow, so we can just build and rap with the people who are members about what it means to be here and what kind of support you need, what kind of conversations y'all want to have. Shout out to you, Samaya El Mascati. We appreciate you. We love you. Thank you so much for the generosity. Yo, y'all don't have any idea how much I love and appreciate this. Super Anonymous just dropped a super sticker. Yo, I'm so grateful, y'all. Thank you so much, man. The love is greater than you could possibly imagine, man. It's a blessing to do this work. I do a show on Al Jazeera every week called Upfront that I'm grateful for. I do a show every day on the Griot that I'm grateful for. And this is a space where I can amplify those conversations, but it's also a space where we can have different conversations. I can talk directly to y'all. I can have the radical analysis. We can do all the stuff. It's amazing. My wife is giving me the note that it's time to wrap because we got to eat dinner. It's a late dinner, but I'm grateful to y'all, man, for everything. And we're gonna keep building. We're gonna keep growing, and as the platform gets bigger, we're going to stretch out into other lanes, more videos, more podcasts. We want to bring some of your voices on. We want y'all to help give us ideas. Somebody said, "Are you happy with Joe Biden?" Man, I don't know if y'all know me. No, I ain't even a little happy with Joe Biden. Not even a little bit. Joe Biden is not meeting the mark for me. Joe Biden is not a disappointment to me because I didn't expect much. But Joe Biden has even somehow been worse than I could have imagined. But I understand why we made the decision. And I understand why people like my dear brother, Bishop Swan, is saying no with Joe. That ain't the wrong answer. You know, I'm not telling people out here to vote for anybody. At the very least, though, you should be withholding your vote. Even if you're a Democrat and you say you're voting blue no matter who, at least make your vote, hold your vote hostage for your agenda. And if Biden don't meet it, y'all should have brought a primary opponent in here. We got to do something because we can't keep the status quo. Anyway, we'll talk later. I'll holler at y'all later, family. Peace.